everybody. Welcome to Awesome Sunday Show. My name is Connor.
I'm Pat.
We are a conversational podcast, and this is kind of a spur-of-the-moment subject right here. I literally, at the time that we're recording this, I just looked at my phone, and I found out that Wes Craven has passed away at age 76. From what I've read, it was due to brain cancer. So I kind of just wanted to do an episode about him, just because, not even because of the horror genre, but just him as a filmmaker in general. I feel like he's very innovative and very influential, and there's awesome stories about what he had to do for his, especially during Nightmare on Elm Street, in order to get certain things done. So I just really want to talk about kind of how he was and kind of the effect that his movies had on me. And also, Pat, you love his movies too. I'm sure you have a lot of things to say.
Yeah, probably not as much as you, just because I'm not as into the hard genre as you are.
Yeah, but
not that
you've
it's
seen
bad
the
thing.
important movies.
I have seen most of his movies, and I did enjoy most of them.
Yeah.
There's some, that he didn't have a huge part in that were still pretty bad that were based on his creations, but
yeah,
that was no doing of him.
I love Wes Craven, but he's had some stinkers too. Vampire in Brooklyn with Eddie Murphy's not a good movie.
No, just the Eddie. No, we'll get on to fuck Eddie Murphy.
But they were actually really good friends after that movie, and even Wes Craven says that the best thing that came out of making that movie was becoming friends with Eddie Murphy.
That's fucking weird.
And Eddie Murphy was the same way, yeah. But hey, whatever,
Yeah, whatever.
High school sucked, but we became friends from it. So
yeah,
I guess you can think of it that way.
Yeah, that's true. But yeah, he was, he kind of revitalized and changed the horror genre.
Yeah, he actually he brought balls to it. I don't think it's a particularly very good movie, but it's really important. The Last House on the Left. Well, okay, before we get into the movies he's directed, Wes Craven, before he was a college professor. He was a really smart dude, and he just dropped it all and said F this, and he started directing porno. Like big bush porno, and he actually had he didn't direct it, but he had a part, not a role, but he did set work for the
he
famous,
had a hand in it.
He had a hand, literally, he had a hand in the making of the movie Deep Throat, which is a really famous pornographic film, really controversial. There's that Linda Lovelace was in it, and there's a biography of her, how she was. It's very.
They did make a movie based on the Deep Throat movie.
Yeah. There's Inside Deep Throat, the documentary.
Not the documentary, but an actual.
Yeah, with Amanda Seyfried or whatever.
Yeah, whatever her name is.
But actually, I saw that movie.
Yeah, I did too.
It was
okay.
all right. Yeah, it was nothing special.
No, but it's just funny that he went from college professor to that to one of the most influential horror writer directors.
Yeah,
of
man.
All time.
He apparently he made a lot of porn. It's just he did.
Yeah.
I'm not. Whatever. It's whatever. I'm not gonna go hunt him down, but so okay. So after the whole after that whole thing, he made a really controversial movie at the time. Then it got a lot of buzz. It was called Last House on the Left.
Yeah, dude, that and it's fucked up, that movie.
Yeah, I don't. Context in movies really doesn't bother me. I'm not a squeamish person at all. I can watch Saw. It's just. As long as I feel there's a reason, and that movie's just really just messed up just to be messed up. It's an exploitation movie.
Yeah, that's exactly what it is.
And the thing was though, it's kind of I have to give the movie credit. It is it's a cut above other exploitation movies, quality wise. Even though I don't think it's a particularly very good movie. But you got to give credit where credit is due. And at the time, it made it was a hit. The budget was $87,000, and domestically it grew over $3 million. But that doesn't sound like a lot, but for a movie like that, it was an underground hit.
Yeah, it really was.
It's kind of the equivalent to Blair Witch Project, except the Blair Witch Project made way more money than Last House on the Left.
Yeah, because they both established a new trend.
Yeah,
in movies Last House on the Left showed basically
rape,
kind of it broke limits of what has, up until then wasn't seen in movies at all, and not just in terms of horror, but at all.
Yeah.
Like,
like most people, that wasn't the first movie to do that, but it was the first movie most people saw.
Yeah.
Which is really at the like when it comes down to it is the most important. You did this first, but people saw Last House on the Left first.
Yeah, and it made a huge impact, and like he's really. I mean, the remake was terrible.
I actually never really wanted to see it.
It's not worth seeing. But like some of his biggest movies have just been like really iconic, like Last House on the Left, The Hills Have Eyes.
That's where his talent really picks up.
Yeah,
that movie's awesome, and the remake's not that bad either.
It's not, but it's not as good.
No,
which is usually the case. But like, The Hills Have Eyes was just really like out there and demented.
Michael Berryman is like the main like villain actor in that movie.
Mm-hmm.
Like the freak or whatever. He's actually he's like on the front cover. I met him.
Really?
That's he's actually in One Flew Over the Cuckoo's Nest.
Mm-hmm.
He's like kind of just stands there. It's just a crazy that stands there. He's an extra.
Yeah, he's a weird looking dude.
But dude, he is the nicest guy you'll ever meet. I met him at a convention with my dad and Michael Berryman, and he just he's like really kind to people, like took time out of the day, like he like shook my hand. Like a lot of people when you meet like these actors, they shake your hand, like a pleasure to meet you, sign. Like, and like, they're not mean, but they meet like 1,000 people that day.
Yeah,
this guy had the longest line because he literally was having conversations with people, like getting to know them, like was interested. He's like, people are like, hey, we met before, and the guy's like, and like Michael Berry's like, well, I honestly don't remember because I meet people all the time. He goes, but do you have any pictures so I can see? I would love to see. Like, he was a really, really genuinely nice guy. Like,
yeah,
the nicest
that's always
person
great
I met
to
there.
see.
Yeah. So he worked with Wes Craven. I mean, Hills Have Eyes is I think that movie still holds up.
It does, and it's still pretty good given it came out in what, like 77, and like the effects back then were garbage, but it was another game changer. It was another exploitation, but it worked, and it fucked with people's minds.
Yeah.
Kinda.
And then after that, he directed a TV movie, Stranger in Our House. I've actually never seen it. Linda Blair's in it after the Exorcist thing, and then then he did cinematography in a couple other movies. And then I think he directed one more exploitation movie. Nothing like it was actually nothing really significant. But then he actually, do you know there's a Swamp Thing movie?
Yes.
And he directed that.
Yeah.
And it's really good, but like not because it's a good movie, because it's like it's a low budget B horror movie.
Yeah.
But it works for the better. Like,
yeah, I mean,
and it actually kind of follows the original comics pretty well, not the new 52 version where like out like
well, obviously not the new 52 version.
Yeah. Oh, but I mean, like, just to clarify people's mind. Alec Holland, I think that's the one. Yeah, that Dr. Alec Holland, right?
Yes.
Yeah, and they like actually follow it pretty well, and like for having like a really crappy costume, like it looks like Swamp Thing,
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, he did a good job with what he
had,
and at the time, that's basically all you could really ask for. But I mean, obviously, his probably that most people would know his two biggest like iconic movies are Nightmare on Elm Street and then the Scream movies.
Yeah,
which kind of really put him on the map.
Yeah, he I mean, like, just because, I mean, especially like let's go to Nightmare on Elm Street first. Actually, like, New Line Cinema is like is what they were because of that movie.
Mm-hmm.
Like, New Line Cinema was one of the first independent film studios to kind of like go on par with like some of the big guys, and you never really saw that until like maybe like Miramax again or something like that. Like, and New Line Cinema owes a lot to Wes Craven. I mean, you really wouldn't get Lord of the Rings if there wasn't. You wouldn't get the Lord of the Rings that you know now if it wasn't for New Line Cinema.
Yeah, that's true.
And Nightmare on Elm Street, like just so many innovative film techniques. I mean, Wes Craven literally had to think of what to do. Like the scene where spoilers. If you haven't seen the movie's like 30 years old. Like,
Yeah, probably more.
if you haven't seen this movie, like, too bad. So, so spoilers. They pull a Deep Blue Sea, except this movie came out before Deep Blue Sea, and they kill the main character in like the middle of the movie, and because in the beginning of the movie it follows this girl, she's like seeing Freddy in her nightmares, and she actually dies like in the middle of the movie after she like bangs her boyfriend. So, but in the movie you see her crawling around, that like she's like being like dragged around the room.
Yeah.
So how they did that for the movie was the room was actually, they actually built something to turn the room. Like it was like a room that was able to be turned around. They were like in a giant box.
Yeah, it's kind of like what they did for Inception.
Yeah, or what they did also too for it's kind of what they did for Pacific Rim as well when they're inside the Jaegers.
Mm-hmm.
A little bit. Like when like they were actually in something that moved back and forth. Like it, at the time though, you didn't see something like that. He was one of the first people to do it, if not the first. And like when she's crawling in the room, the guy's actually belted to the bed, and it looks like he's in one spot because the cameras don't move, but she does.
Yeah.
Because the room itself is actually going out upside down, but you see in the movie that she's like on the roof or the ceiling. I mean, so like he just did. You know, that's today. That's like genius. Today you would say it would be CG or something like that. But like,
but it has been used since then, and you know it's.
Nowhere
because
near to
of
the
that.
effect, though.
Well, yeah, I mean, like the technique has been adopted because they've learned that it works.
Yeah,
and that it's a great, you know, for Inception in particular, because most people have seen that, I'm sure. But like
more people have probably seen Inception than Nightmare on Elm Street.
That's kind of debatable. But I mean, in just because I'm going off the room thing, like it's the most recent, biggest movie to have used it like really well.
Yeah.
And you know, you can tell that they got that idea from Nightmare on Elm Street. And like I guarantee that's where Christopher Nolan got it from.
Yeah.
'Cause he's like a cinephile, like
yeah,
it makes sense that he would get it from that.
I like Chris Nolan too because he like does shout out to other directors. He's like he doesn't like take a lot of the credit for himself.
Yeah, exactly. He
I mean,
pays a
but
lot
he
of
very well
homage.
deserves it too. But like he'll be like, oh, I love like how this person does this. Like, so like I shout out to that. Like it takes he's not like an egotistical maniac like a lot of people in Hollywood are. Yeah, so like just like the innovation, like what they had to do for that movie, like and like the actors he picked. Johnny Depp was like 20 or 21 when that movie came around.
Yeah, that was one of his first big roles.
It's weird too because he's actually the weakest part of the movie, in my opinion. Like he's not bad.
Yeah.
But like out of all the other actors, I feel like he doesn't really do like anything. Like like he kind of is just there.
Yeah, it could be.
Like every other character I was emotionally attached to more than Johnny Depp. So it's kind of funny. Like with the biggest star that came out of that movie, didn't really have anything to do with anything.
Yeah, exactly. He became a star after.
He was kind of just like a body to get killed in that movie. And I mean, so was everybody else, but. Trying to think what else. Also, too, like the actor that plays like Tina's boyfriend, was like a drug addict at the time or something, or was like an alcoholic, and like he the scene where he's like explaining like how he's innocent. He's like really like emotionally drained and just really upset.
Mm-hmm.
He was actually upset of himself because he did some sort of drugs that like the night before, and he's been clean for so many years now.
Yeah.
But like he was like that night I was actually legitimately upset, and like you saw it on screen. I think that's why it worked really well. Like,
well, it was just I guess the luck of the draw.
Yeah, I don't know,
like a random coincidence that ended up working.
That's the thing. That's the thing about Nightmare on Elm Street is that. There's just so many random little things that you never think of, but it all just fit so well together, and that's why the movie is so good. And I mean, like Pat, do you want to start off? What is the best part of that movie?
Honestly, I haven't seen it in a while, but I'm gonna guess is that Is the first one the one with like the raining blood in that room or the
Yeah.
explosion of blood?
Well, that's I'm talking about like actor wise. Robert Englund
Oh yeah,
as
as Freddy.
as
Krueger.
Freddy Krueger. Like, dude. Well, Robert Englund is a classically trained actor,
Yeah,
so he like really gets into it. So and it shows he did an awesome job. You know.
yeah, he did, and you know what? He became one of the most iconic, villains, monsters, and all of movie history, basically.
Yeah. And I mean, even like when they filmed Nightmare on Elm Street 2, Robert Englund actually they shot a lot of scenes without him. He wasn't supposed to come back.
Mm-hmm.
And like when the director was like watching the footage, she's like, "Oh man, like the guy that they got was like awful, like really bad." So they paid Robert. They had to like reshoot scenes and just got Robert Englund back.
Yeah, well, Wes Craven directed Nightmare on Elm Street 2.
No, he didn't. He was a producer.
Oh, never mind.
Yeah,
I'm wrong.
he the only one he directed after 1 was New Nightmare.
Mm-hmm.
But like, I mean, some of them are good though. Like Nightmare on Elm Street 3 is really good. 2 is I like 2. But I mean, I feel like we kind of talked the hell out of Nightmare on Elm Street.
Yeah. I mean, let's go.
Like, there's so much more to the movie, and like I wish I could talk about it more, but you really should just watch it.
It really is a great movie. Even if you only watch the first one, it's just, it was.
I mean, I've seen every single one of them. The ones that are essential to watch of the series is 1, 3, and New Nightmare, and Freddy vs. Jason, if you count that.
Yeah, definitely watch that.
That movie's awesome.
It's a crazy cool thing to happen.
Yeah, I really want them to be our second one, but we'll never get it. That's all right. I mean, after Nightmare on Elm Street, he did like a couple. He was part of the Twilight Zone movie. He did The Hills Have Eyes Part 2, which really actually wasn't that good. But then he did a movie that was really, really good after Nightmare on Elm Street 3 came out because he was like a producer and like writer for that movie. He directed a movie called The Serpent and the Rainbow. And that movie's awesome. It's literally about zombies, but the literal definition of a zombie, like not like a reanimated corpse. It's like it literally has to do with voodoo and like people being buried alive, and then like they dig them up and come back, and there's like a huge mystery, and like the pharmaceutical company sends this guy to go investigate. And again, like this is a movie I won't go too much into because not a lot of people have seen this movie. Cassidy actually showed me this movie, and so did my dad. And it's actually some parts is like kind of hard to watch. Like, spoilers right now. There's a scene where the lead actor gets his they put a nail to his nut and like smash it down.
Jesus.
Yeah, it's like, but the movie is like really good, not for that reason, but I mean, yeah, it's just like that's another really good movie he has. But I guess like just to kind of end it off, the movie he's most known for is for modern horror movies, Scream.
Yeah, he kind of reinvented the slasher, and like, brought it back. He gave it new life.
Yes. And
Ghostface is another iconic like horror villain, monster, whatever you want to consider him.
Yeah, he's not really a monster. He's kind of like. It was not a monster at all.
Well, yeah, but
Scream 3 is like debatable.
Yeah. Yeah, but Scream 3 wasn't that good anyway.
I like it. I like all of them. I mean, Scream 2 is my favorite.
Scream 2 is really good.
Yeah, but I mean,
even Scream 4 wasn't that bad.
No, none of them. I like all of them. I really do.
Yeah.
Scream 3 is the weakest one, but I think Scream 2 is my favorite, but Scream 1 is more legendary because it was the first of the series, and like they kind of like parodied the tropes, but in an intelligent way. The casting was really good.
Yeah, it's a great cast.
It
actually.
really is. Well, who's the one guy from Sound of the Mask? That's Jamie Kennedy, right?
Yeah, fuck that movie. That movie sucked.
That movie does suck, but he's really good in Scream, and like he's actually my favorite part of Scream 1.
Really?
Yeah, because he's kind of like how I always was.
Mhm.
I kind of related him to him the most because I feel like if we were in that situation,
Yeah.
like there was a murder in Bricktown, and like he was following all the horror movie cliches, like I feel like it would be either me or Cass, like people like be that guy, and it would be like, all right, like Connor, who's he gonna kill next, or Cass, who's gonna kill next, and shit like that, like. So like I was like when he got shot, I was like, no, like that's not how I'm going out. And dude, what's his name? That was Shaggy in the Scooby Doo movies is really good in that movie too.
Oh, Matthew Lillard.
Yeah, and he's a really good actor.
He is a good actor.
Yeah, he was awesome in it, and the actress that plays Sydney Prescott is awesome. The cat, like that's the one thing that even though I like Nightmare on Elm Street better as a movie, Scream as a cast, the acting is much better and much more well-rounded talent.
Yeah.
Like so like every actor like brings it. And like the thing about the Scream movies is like it does always leave you guessing who is the killer.
Yeah, they really did that really well.
Yeah, at the time.
That was one of their strengths.
Yeah, I mean Scream 4 I knew who it was from the beginning of the movie. Although I knew who one of the killers was in the beginning of the movie. Because it's always been like multiple killers except for Scream 3. So like that was kind of predictable, but every time I watched the Scream for the first time, I genuinely didn't know who it was.
Yeah, I mean, Scream 1, I was really, really, really surprised at.
Yeah, and like it's also one of those, and like that movie too is kind of special because that was before the internet was like huge.
Yeah,
like there the internet existed. I mean, they used the internet in the movie. Like she's calling 911 from her computer, and in the beginning of the movie, but like nowadays, like if a movie's out for a month, you know everything because of the internet. Even whether you want
usually
to or
even
not.
before like a couple of months, a couple of weeks, even like the day of.
I didn't see that movie when it first came out because I was young and my mom wouldn't let me go see it.
Same.
And then so I had to watch it years later when I was like older. And I shout out to Easy Video and Brick. McDonald's is there now. But that place was awesome because they let me rent so many movies that I should never have rented, and they didn't care because the guy over the counter was a huge horror movie buff, and he's like, dude, he's like, that's awesome. The horror movies is like every time I'm here, you don't need your parents. I was like, all right, cool,
nice.
So I would just rent so many different scary movies. Like I remember I rented The Howling, and like that movie starts off with a girl going into like a porno shop, like because a killer's trying to find her, like. And I rented that movie when I was like 10. Like, but no, yeah. What was I saying again?
Just go back to Wes Craven.
Yeah.
Talking about Scream, and then you went off.
No, but yeah, he just did, and like also too, like you see how much better he gets as a director throughout his movies.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I mean, it's sad. He was 76, but I mean, it doesn't really matter the age. I can't stand when people are like kind of like even I mean I'm guilty of it too. When people are like, well, he was like 76. It's like, well, okay, but still, it's just as sad.
76 isn't really that considered like. I mean, like it's not as like impactfully old as it used to be. Because now people are living. Think about how many people over the last few years have lived to be over 100.
Christopher Lee was in his 90s. Stan Lee was in his 90s.
94 or something like that.
Something like that, yeah.
Yeah, Stan Lee's in his 90s. So it's, I mean, yeah, 76 is still old, but it's not like he was ancient.
Yeah.
He wasn't on like his deathbed for
Well, I mean, according to what I read from Wikipedia and a couple other online sources, I mean, it just was announced pretty much, so I don't know if it's true or not, but it was because of brain cancer.
Right.
So yeah, I mean, yeah, he was something else. I mean, Red Eye was another really good movie. It sucks. He was probably one of my top 10 if I had any.
Yeah, he's an extremely influential director, and
he's one of the few.
He will have a legacy for like a long time.
Yeah, he's one of the few horror directors. Like when you see a horror movie, like there's actually good characterization in the movie as well.
Yeah,
because that's like as much as I love horror movies, and I love a lot of bad horror movies too. Like the main reason why a lot of horror movies fail and aren't good is because the characters aren't good. They try to make the movie scary, and they forget the focus on the characters. That's why every scary movie that's legendary, like The Exorcist, Nightmare on Elm Street, Halloween, like the characters are memorable and they're good. Like, and you can't really be scared of something if you don't care if the characters live or not.
Yeah,
and like that's what Wes Craven really had going for him. Is like you cared about the characters living or dying, so it was much more impactful and it was much more horrifying when you saw them die or escape death. So I mean, that's where his strength was. Like, was every movie a success? No, but I mean, most of his movies were. He made some of the my favorite films of all time. It's just, and it's sad. It's sad to see someone like that go. I wish I got to meet him. I never did get to meet him. But I mean, whatever. It's just he's got a wonderful legacy though.
Yeah, his legacy's pretty awesome. I mean, like if you think about it, you could ask any horror movie or most directors in general, but like, they've all been influenced by him in some way.
Yeah. I mean, and he worked with a lot of people back then too, and he was also he was a genuine, like, I mean, like, not even talking about, like, we'll finish off with this. Not even talking about how good of he was as a director, but he was actually a really decent human being as well. He was like a really kind and gentle person. So like, and like a lot of people were surprised, like when, like if you should watch the documentary Never Sleep Again. Did you ever hear of it?
No.
Be prepared. It's 4.5 hours long.
Holy shit!
But it's really good, and it follows every Nightmare on Elm Street movie, from the first one to the last one.
Mm-hmm.
And they like literally they like, and they talk about it like each movie for anywhere from 20 to 40 minutes. So it's like extensive. It's really, but you might have to like go through like 2 settings of it, like, because it's that long. But like, Wes Craven's a really nice guy, and he like he cares about people deeply. He was like a bird watcher, like like really cared about the environment. Like, he just, for someone who made so many like messed up movies, he was like a really kind, like gentle and decent human being. You know.
Mm-hmm.
So I guess finish off with that. He's like legendary filmmaker, really nice person. So I mean, it's sad the world lost someone else today. It's been a summer of a lot of loss. I mean, Christopher Lee was another big one.
Christopher Lee was a fucking badass.
Yeah, but yeah, you still have the movies though.
That's true.
So there's a legacy right there.
Yeah, just watch one or a bunch in his honor.
Yeah, I'll probably do the same thing tonight. I'll probably watch Nightmare.
All right,
but what's your we'll finish off right after this. What's your favorite Wes Craven movie?
I'd have to go with Nightmare because that scared the fuck out of me when I was younger, and that was the first one I saw of his.
Yeah.
So like, it stuck with me.
I think mine's Nightmare too, just because just on a filmmaking level, it was really innovative at the time.
Yeah,
and
I think Nightmare might have been the first horror movie I ever saw, which I think it gives it another edge for me of why it's my favorite.
I mean, back in the early 90s, Freddy Krueger was like huge.
Yeah.
Like, so I think Halloween might have been the first horror movie I ever saw, but I think out of all the like iconic movie monsters, I think Freddy Krueger is the best one.
Fair.
But yeah, I agree with you. Nightmare is my favorite Wes Craven movie. It's everything that he works best with in one movie.
Yeah, that's true. All right. Yeah. Well, rest in peace, Wes Craven.
Yeah, sad to see you go, but we're happy you're alive.
Yeah, thanks for the movies, man.
Yeah.
All right. Bye, guys.
See you later.